All right, we're picking up where we left off. We are in Azure DevOps. We've created a project called Test 1 2 3 4. We went into Azure DevOps Boards. We've added some work items. And since the last video, I've added several more. And what we're going to do is we're going to kind of break out of Azure DevOps now and start to complete some of these tasks, start to work on building some source code. Ultimately, what we want to do is use this source code to deploy to in an automated fashion using an Azure pipeline to some kind of a web server or Azure App Service, something to that effect. But we'll get there eventually. But let's build some source code. I could download some sample code. I just kind of want to go through just building basic HTML pages. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm on the local file system here in a folder called C Projects Static HTML Demo. I'm going to create a new file and I'm going to call it default.html. That's kind of a standard that I use when I build my web servers and services. You can typically configure your server to use whatever default document you want. This is part of the standardization. And so that's what we're going to use. So I'm going to open this in my favorite editor, which is Visual Studio Code. And if I go back to my board, we've completed that first task, adding a default.html page. Done. Uh, excuse me, go in and add some HTML tags. So we're just going to put in HTML. Visual Studio Code is really good about adding the ending tags for us. We've added our HTML tags. That is done. Now we're going to do the header. Mark that as in progress. Put in head. All right. And mark that as done. And adding title tags. Now I know this is a little redundant and kind of over the top, but it's just trying to use the tool and show you how it works. First HTML page. We got a title. I'm going to save that. I'm going to pull it up. And there's our document. It doesn't really show anything because there's nothing there. Um, so we see the title here. My first HTML page shows up at the top in the tab. So back to our backlog. Mark this as done. Under title tag. And now we're going to add a document type definition. So where am I getting this information from? Back here? Whoop. So this is the specification for HTML 4.01. You can see it was released in 1999, superseded in 2018. It's kind of an old standard, but it's what I know the most. So that's what I utilize. And if we start with, here it is. So this is the basic HTML document that we built, right? Very simple. We've got our header. Haven't added a body yet, but that's kind of what we've got. And then they have this thing called a document type definition. What does that do? It tells the browser when it renders the document how to render it. And we're using, in this case, the strict definition of HTML 4.01. And you'll see how this works when we do some document validation or HTML validation. But for right now, just know that you typically specify some kind of a document type so that it tells the browser how to render the document. We're going to start with HTML 4.01. So now let's add a body. Uh, Another construct in the HTML file. So there's a header, which kind of identifies the top document. And we're going to put in a header 1. And call it training. Save that document. And let's render it here. So now we have a header 1 that is, a certain size, and it shows our training item. Go back to our backlog. We're going to mark our document type definition complete. We added a header. We just used training, but we added that to the body, and let's complete that. Now we're going to add a header 2 that just says hello world, the ubiquitous hello world. H2 hello world. I can type properly. Save that and refresh. Hi, hello. Correct. So you can see, this is kind of a manual process, and this is not typically how websites are built, but I just want to go through the process of showing how these tags work. All right, so now we're going to add a paragraph. We're just going to put stuff goes here. Fancy. Back to our document. This time we're going to add paragraph. Save that and hit refresh. So now we have a header 1 that's titled training. We have a header 2 titled hello world. It's a little bit smaller font, and then even smaller than that, stuff goes here. So that's kind of how headers and paragraphs render in HTML. So we're going to mark that done. Now we're going to go in and validate our HTML. So there's a link to that document or to that service that the W3C provides. So we're going to choose the file that we've been working on and C project static HTML demo. And we're going to do a check. And we see a fancy green item that says this document was tentatively checked as HTML 4.01 strict. Now, why does it say 4.01 strict? Because we specified the document type definition. Why did it pick this encoding? See what's going on there. It says that there's no character encoding found, and it's falling back to UTF-8. The character encoding is typically identified when you're on a web server. And so you can put it inside the document. There's a way to specify it. I don't want to mess with that right now. So using the default UTF-8 is fine. And as far as I'm concerned, this validates that our HTML meets the standard for the most part of HTML 4.01 strict. If we put this document, and we will eventually, on a web server, this, and then specify the URL to it, I believe the UTF-8 or the encoding would be specified in that call to the web server, and I don't believe we would get this validation warning. But again, it's a warning. It's not the end of the world, and our document is rendering locally just fine. So I'm going to mark that task complete, and we're going to mark this HTML structure product backlog item complete, and we're going to end this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you like, subscribe, and share this video if you enjoyed it. Till next time, I hope everybody's great.